Number 10. Russell Brand. This man has been slowly exposing himself to the public over the years. His chaotic energy has just gotten worse and worse as time's gone on. This guy has gone down in history as being the worst host of the Video Music Awards ever, but for now he's going down in history as being an absolutely terrible guy. 4 women have come forward alleging that Russell mistreated them verbally and physically between the years of 2006 and 2014, which was arguably the height of his career. Brand strongly denies the allegations, and in a video that he himself has posted claimed that while he was promiscuous, all relationships were consensual. One of the women who came forward claimed that Russell had started a relationship with her in 2006 when she was still in high school and he was 30. Apparently, they met while Russell bumped into her at a shopping center and proceeded to search/critique her purchases. According to the woman, the relationship was meant to be anonymous, with Russell asking her to straight up lie to her parents. He even wrote her a script to keep things smooth. Another woman alleged similar behavior in 2007, but added that he had a massive temper, becoming physical with her a few times. Several more women have spoken out about their situations with Brand, all of which are eerily similar and show that he has a pattern of some serious mistreatment. He will probably deny these allegations until the day he passes away, but the news has left his career up in smoke. Number 9. Would you mind just scrolling down, please, Chris? Thank you. Number 9. Danny Masterson. The man best known for his role on the sitcom That 70s Show has been convicted of mistreatment charges. Oh look, 2 in a row. 3 women came forward detailing a time when Danny did some truly terrible things that I can't really get into. 3 separate incidences took place between 2001 and 2003, but a verdict was not reached until this year. The first round of investigations actually took place while he was still on That 70s Show, but back in the early 2000s there just wasn't enough physical evidence to take things very far. In 2017, the investigation was reopened and it was reported that he was once again being investigated by the police. The women spoke about Masterson's misdeeds and were able to scrape together enough hard evidence for this guy to get a conviction. Another woman came forward in 2017, rounding it up to 4 accusers, and it was revealed throughout the proceedings that Netflix had actually tried to dispute these claims of these women as a way to maintain their relationship with Danny. Eventually, he was fired from the ranch, and, well, everything and anything that had his name attached to it. The actor defended himself tooth and nail right up to the final verdict, more than likely in an attempt to stretch things out just as long as he could. In the last year, former co-stars like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis actually wrote character statements supporting Danny and literally claimed him to be a role model at one point. Their careers have also been suffering, but they have yet to have their careers nuked like Danny has. Number 8. James Franco. James Franco exists in this little bubble of public exile for using his powers for evil. The man behind some iconic characters like his portrayal as Tommy Wiseau or his role as Harry in Spider-Man, and so many more, just made this guy seem like he was on this long, successful career path, especially following his multiple collaborations with his longtime friend Seth Rogen, as well as a few more turns in serious roles like True Story alongside Jonah Hill. Apparently though, James has a problem with keeping his hands to himself, when it comes to his acting students especially. In 2018, 5 female students at a Studio 4 acting school in North Hollywood told the Los Angeles Times that Franco had parlayed his position to exploit them physically. 2 of those women sued Franco, and he was forced to settle outside of court and fork over $2.23 million. At the time, he was writing, acting, and starring in a show for HBO, which he was allowed to stay on and finish while it was being cancelled anyway. Not only did fans call for the cancellation of this series, but the public outcry forced his buddy Seth Rogen to drop his longtime pal, telling the Times of London that the scandal had changed their relationship and they had no plans on collaborating anytime soon. There's a pretty simple lesson here, folks. If you don't want to cancel yourself, just keep your hands to yourself. It's pretty easy. Number 7. Chris D'Elia. For a long time, Chris D'Elia was a very popular stand-up comedian with several stand-up specials under his belt. TV shows, film roles, he was at the top of everyone's list. However, he's now at the top of the do not even think about him list after 10 women came forward with claims of physical misconduct, and 4 of them were underage. Most of the accounts share a pattern. Chris would pester them for videos and photographs in exchange for free tickets to his shows. He would use that leverage to then find these women and become dark clouds in their lives. He'd pick out their clothes, he would impose curfews, and he even forced some of them to get tattoos of his initials. When one woman denied his advances, he actually blackmailed her into filming an apology video that he wrote himself. This guy is sadistic. Chris obviously denied every allegation, but the internet is forever, so messages and screenshots screenshots were quickly shared with lawyers and PR teams. Chris's career is gone. In fact, the news broke just a couple months before a movie he had wrapped production on was set to release, so the director Zack Snyder was forced to refilm his scenes with a different actor, costing millions of dollars, but it was well worth it to scrub his final performance from streaming services. Number 6. Louis C.K. There's not much to say about this man. He was once a giant in the world of comedy. He had his own show with his name on it. He was in movies and live shows. This guy was a very busy man, but apparently he was also busy being the creepiest creep to ever live. Hours before his film I Love You Daddy was set to premiere, it was pulled from theaters, and it turns out that Louis was being cancelled and publicly outed as a few things that I'm not allowed to say on the internet, so let's just call him slimy. For many years, Louis would use his status as a boss and a comedian to intimidate and mistreat his female counterparts. He would take women aside and ask them if they'd like to watch him feed his geese, as Bubbles would say. Even when they would say no, he would just whip it out and just do it anyway. Several women recounted him blocking their exit as he did this thing and physically forced them to watch. This man was rightfully fired from every TV show and film ever. His comedy tour was canceled, his agent dropped him off of a cliff, and he is now the slimiest man in Hollywood. Number 5. Larry the Cable Guy. Larry, whose real name is Daniel Whitney, is known for his so-called redneck humor and get-her-done attitude on stage. He did comedy tours worldwide, and fun fact, he was the first comedian that I ever listened to on an iPod. And I'm talking shuffle, baby. Around 2013, Larry did an interview in which he revealed his real voice. It was already known that he was not from Texas, he was from Pawnee City, Nebraska, but his real voice is just so normal. Now, if you've never heard Larry speak, I'm about to do an impression, and please, this is not to offend anyone, it's just so you can hear his voice. So, if you're gonna get her done, you're gonna get her done, that's right. But he sounded more like, if you're gonna get her done, in real life. When his real voice was revealed, roughly 60% of his audience turned on him. He was faking a voice that was a real accent for a lot of people. His comedy was relatable to them, but he was just pretending the entire time, and it felt like he had been making fun of them. In case you haven't noticed, he no longer stars in the sequels to Things. Who could forget Tooth Fairy 2? Number 4. Michael Richards. Michael is best known for his character Cosmo Kramer on the legendary sitcom Seinfeld, but nowadays you might know him from his racist tirade at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles. In 2006, Michael was filmed dropping some pretty rough comments in front of a crowd of people who just wanted to hear some jokes. Instead, they heard Cosmo shout the N-word over and over and over again at a man in the crowd. He also made some racist remarks that I'm not going to repeat online or ever. The video went viral, being broadcasted on news networks across the country. Michael apologized for his actions, claiming that he was heckled by someone and that it sent him off. Throughout the tirade, many of the audience members weren't sure if he was trying to be funny or if these were his genuine thoughts, but by the end it was obvious that it was unscripted and uncalled for. Number 3. Roseanne Barr. In the late 80s, Roseanne starred in a sitcom titled after herself, and she starred alongside some Hollywood heavyweights like John Goodman in a series that followed the couple's everyday life as a working-class family. The show aired for 230 episodes and eventually got canceled in the 90s, but the show was eventually revived in 2018 as this same wholesome content just for a new generation. Unfortunately for Roseanne, sitcom producers have Twitter. Her show was quickly re-canceled only a few hours after it was announced that it was coming back because Roseanne posted a tweet about Valerie Jarrett telling the world that she was the product of Planet of the Apes and a certain brotherhood having a baby. It's pretty dark. She later apologized for the tweets, but the damage was done. ABC Entertainment president Channing Dungey said in a statement that Roseanne's Twitter statements are abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with their values. Barr defended her tweets, saying that they were not racist, but in fact a joke. Hey Roseanne, those can be the same thing. Doesn't make it any better. Number 2. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen had one of the most successful daytime talk shows of all time until 2020, when her show became overwhelmed with accusations of a toxic work environment from former employees. They were claiming that Ellen's happy exterior was nothing more than this fake thing that she put on to keep the audience on her team. A bit of proof came when she accused Dakota Johnson of not inviting her to a birthday party, and Dakota told her that she actually did do that and never got a notice from anybody except for her producer that said she did not want to attend. Fans started questioning the awkward moment and the cracks began to grow bigger and bigger. Eventually an article was released containing testimonies from several former employees with just too many stories for it to be fake. Ellen canceled herself by denying every single thing that she was being accused of, and instead of acknowledging her faults and missteps as a boss, boss, she just kinda canceled her show completely out of the blue. She didn't respond to any of the articles or the claims that she herself was a short-tempered tyrant. Instead, she just was like, alright guys, we're wrapping it up today. Her show was canceled amid all the controversy and has been on a hiatus ever since. Oh well, more time for Kelly Clarkson. And at number 1, it's Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle dominated the comedy scene in the 1990s. His stand-up was considered to be the most gut-busting around, and his film roles and stuff like The Nutty Professor and Robin Hood Men in Tights just made him a cult classic comedian. He took a bit of a break from starring in films to focus on his family and his true passion, stand-up comedy, but despite being on stage for over 12 years, he never really learned to follow suit with the times. There were just certain things that became rude to joke about. Many jokes considered to be funny in the 80s have not aged well, and unfortunately, it just seems like that's all the material that Dave has. In one of his most recent Netflix specials, he decided it was his time and his stage and he could do whatever he wanted, so what he wanted to do was make fun of the LGBTQ+ community. Yeah, that did not go well. He spewed some pretty trashy jokes. If you're curious how bad it was, they were just rough enough to get his entire fan base to turn on him. Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos actually defended the comedian, claiming that he had artistic freedom, even after a group of Netflix employees and transgender advocates staged a virtual walkout. Now, he later apologized and said he handled the situation poorly. Oh, poor Ted, did you accidentally support a bigot?
And at number 10, we have David Dobrik. Starting off this list, we have the most obvious person, David Dobrik. David Dobrik might be finished now that he's being accused of perpetuating a toxic environment and even facilitating the SA of a girl bi Vlog Squad member, Durte Dom. Over the span of his cancellation, tons of clips have resurfaced showing David being racist and homophobic. He's also made his friends do terrible stunts that have landed them in the hospital. Currently, tons of sponsors have dropped David, including SeatGeek, who helped him give away free cars to most of his friends. As well, his monetization has been stripped from his YouTube channel. In his last apology, he said he would be taking a few months off social media, and I guess only time will tell if he's welcomed back. In at number 9, James Charles. James Charles has had lingering backlash after he was exposed for sending lewd photos to his fan. And this was not the first time James has been accused of this. Fans estimate that it's his third time getting exposed for this kind of inappropriate conduct. James ended up addressing the backlash on his Twitter. However, people in the replies did not accept the explanation. Even though more accusers have come out against James, he hasn't addressed the backlash further. However, most of the comments on his post are asking him to address it another time and pledge to actually change his behavior. Currently, James is avoiding the backlash, hoping it will just go away, but it doesn't seem like his fans will let this one slide. In at number 8, Durte Dom. Durte Dom is not only cancelled, but there's a high chance that he could face jail time with what's come out about him. Multiple women have come forward with their stories of being harassed by Dom, with the focal point of the recent Insider article being how Dom forced himself on a girl named Hannah while she was intoxicated. Dom's career was starting to fall off ever since he stopped appearing in the vlogs regularly, and with these more recent allegations, I would be shocked if he ever comes back to YouTube. In at number 7, Jason Nash. Jason Nash is David Dobrik's right-hand man, and he appears in practically all of his content, from vlogs to their shared podcast. And that means that Jason has been a part of almost all of the controversial events that have taken place with David and the squad. The most controversial stunt that Jason has been a part of is the SA prank on Seth Francois. This prank is what really started the downfall of the entire crew. And if you need a quick refresher, basically David told Seth that he was going to be making out with Corinna Kopp, but Corinna needed to be in a face mask for some reason. Then after they had made out for an uncomfortably long amount of time, it was revealed that the person that Seth was kissing wasn't actually Corinna, but rather Jason. Many have called him out for partaking in the disgusting stunt, and it seems like he's going to be cancelled right along with David. In at number 6, Ryland Adams. Ryland Adams is engaged to disgraced YouTube star Shane Dawson, who was cancelled in 2020. And although Ryland got backlash because of Shane's scandals, he wasn't in a scandal of his own until 2021. This all started when Jeffrey's hairstylist, Hair by Jay, said nasty things about Trisha on his live. As a result, Trisha lashed out, trashing Jeffrey and Shane for associating with Jay. But since both of them were offline at that time, Ryland decided to respond on his podcast, The Sit, which was a terrible idea, because Trisha then lashed out at just Ryland, exposing all the reasons she thinks Ryland is a bad person. And it worked, with all of Trisha's fans flooding his podcast and video comments to express their anger over the feud. And it's so bad that months later, Ryland admitted that he still gets negative comments on his content. Halfway at number 5, Gabi DeMartino. YouTuber Gabi DeMartino was cancelled after it was exposed that she sold inappropriate photos on OnlyFans, which was essentially selling illegal content to people that expected it to be sexual sexual in nature because of the nature of OnlyFans. And because of a leaked DM conversation, we know it was intended to be this way, with her saying in the conversation, quote, "won't put my panties on." The backlash for this one was swift, and she ended up addressing it all on her channel in a short video. After the scandal, she rebranded, but quickly changed back to her old, fancy aesthetic, with people wondering if the rebrand was only to take people's attention off of the scandal. In at number 4, the Dolan Twins. So this one's a little different, because the twins chose to end their own YouTube careers by deciding to officially stop posting on their channel. They posted the announcement on their podcast, saying that they wanted to try other endeavors and are burnt out from producing YouTube content. They thanked their fans for supporting them and asked them to stick around to see what they do next. Since their announcement, they have posted sporadically on their Instagram accounts, so I guess we'll have to wait and see if they make a real return. But based on the comments, it seems their fans would love to have them back. In at number 3, Nikita Dragun. Over 2020 and into 2021, Nikita Dragun has made a lot of questionable decisions, and it seems like the internet has entirely turned on her. She's been called out many times for partying during COVID, as well as rarely wearing a mask when out in public. And if she was wearing a mask, it usually wasn't worn correctly. She also got called out for still supporting the Lopez Brothers after their multiple scandals. There were also allegations coming out against Nikita that she was pursuing young men, when photos came out that she commented on her then boyfriend's photo, asking if he was 18 yet, which is a little creepy. In at number 2, Shane Dawson. So obviously Shane Dawson was on tons of these lists in 2020, when he was originally cancelled, but it seems that his cancellation might last into 2021. Shane has been hinting that he'll be coming back to YouTube soon, but the reaction to this has been mixed. He recently posted to his community tab, telling fans he'd be coming back soon, and he's excited to make content again. But most of the top comments are just people telling him to not come back, and saying that he isn't forgiven yet. Shane was also publicly dropped by one of his longest friends, Trisha Paytas, in 2021. So there's definitely going to be a lot of backlash when he does decide to come back. And finally at number 1, Cole Carrigan. Cole Carrigan is a YouTuber who's known for being in drama. His biggest scandal was in 2019, when he accused the Ace family's Austin McBroom of forcing himself on one of Cole's friends. But he's been in even more drama in 2021. He publicly stated that he hooked up with Kanye West while Kanye was married to Kim Kardashian, and he even received a lawsuit from Kanye's bodyguard after making these statements online. We haven't really heard much on it since, so many people think that he was just lying. He also recently accused Hannah Mojo of hacking and deleting multiple of his social media accounts. So it seems that he's even made enemies out of his former friends. And at number 10, Morgan Wallen. Country singer Morgan Wallen was cancelled this year after he was caught using the N-word on a security camera in February. Wallen was already on thin ice with the public after he left the Saturday Night Live crew scrambling to replace him as the musical guest on the show when he broke quarantine guidelines the day before his appearance. At the time the footage was released, Wallen had one of the most successful country albums ever made. But after the incident, he apologized, saying, quote, "I'm embarrassed and sorry. I used an unacceptable and inappropriate racial slur that I wish I could take back." His music was also banned from being played on many radio stations, and he was taken out of playlists on Spotify. He has stayed out of the press since. And at number 9, Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson is one of the most successful YouTubers ever, as he's managed to stay relevant on the platform for over a decade. However, his success has been riddled with controversy for basically his entire time on the internet. Back in the early days, he would play black characters in skits and even wear blackface as he put on a strong black scent. It was also exposed that he would make inappropriate jokes about his young fans and would talk about overly sexual content with them. Shane always managed to talk his way out of these scandals, and he would come back better than before. But in 2020, he experienced his biggest cancellation to date, and all the problematic behavior from his past resurfaced. He was even publicly called out by Jada and Jaden Smith for a disturbing incident relating to Willow Smith. After everything was exposed, he was dropped from all his sponsors, and he hasn't returned to the internet since. And at number 8, Lea Michele. Lea Michele's cancellation was the cancellation that kicked off 2020. After Lea tweeted out in support of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, many of her black former castmates came forward speaking of their terrible experiences working with Lea. Many said that she treated them differently because of their race, and Lea would even make derogatory comments relating to the black community, like telling one woman that she was going to defecate in her wig. This spawned even more criticism of Lea, with people saying that she was just an all-around spoiled brat and was rude to every person on set. After being dropped from multiple sponsors, Lea posted an apology to Instagram. She stayed silent online for many months and has now started posting again. And at number 7, David Dobrik. David was another star that went through a massive cancellation in 2020. It started when Trisha Paytas and Ethan Klein interviewed many of David's past Vlog Squad members and shared the details of their toxic experiences. Then an insider article came out exposing that someone had been SA'd while filming for David's vlog, showing that he facilitates a toxic frat boy environment where illegal things take place. And just when you think things couldn't get any worse for David, it was revealed that he was personally responsible for Jeff Wittick's life-threatening eye injury. This injury is so bad that Jeff is not even fully healed over a year later. Because of all of this, David's ads were cut from YouTube, along with losing all of his sponsors. He was even forced to step down from his own app, Dispo. David released multiple apology videos, which were mostly roasted on the internet. And after a 3-month-long break, he returned to vlogging. And at number 6, J.K. Rowling. Author J.K. Rowling was beloved for her Harry Potter novels that broke records worldwide for being one of the most successful franchises ever. However, since her rise to fame, Rowling has received a constant stream of controversy for allegedly being transphobic, and she's tweeted out multiple statements over the years that have been called out as transphobic. She also supports TERFism, which is the belief that trans women aren't women and that biological sex is the only factor that determines gender. The backlash against all this got even worse when she released a novel where a man was dressing up as a woman in order to dupe female victims and kill them. Halfway at number 5, James Charles. James Charles is another influencer that is constantly involved in drama. Back in 2019, in the midst of the Bi-Sister scandal, James went through the biggest cancellation YouTube had ever seen because of allegations from Tati Westbrook and Jeffree Star that James was using his influence to trick men, specifically straight men, into being with him romantically. James was actually able to refute a lot of the claims, and his career quickly came back. However, recently tons of teens under the legal age have come forward to expose that they sent and received inappropriate photos from James on Snapchat, with many even providing proof. A recent tweet from Keemstar states that currently 6 teenagers have come out against James so far, but it was later proved that the number is much higher. James tried to brush off the allegations a number of times, but when fans demanded answers, he uploaded a YouTube video admitting to everything. And at number 4, Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy was involved in a massive scandal recently after several old tweets were exposed. It started when Kourtney Stodden exposed that Chrissy would bully them publicly and even privately, even though they didn't even know each other. The tweets told Stodden to go to sleep forever and told her that she looked like an idiot. And to make things worse, Stodden alleged that Chrissy would not just tweet about them, but also send them private messages. These messages apparently told Stodden to end their own life, and told Stodden that Teigen couldn't wait for them to die. This scandal actually took place months after another scandal, where it was speculated as to whether Chrissy had ties to disgraced billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Since Chrissy is constantly in scandals, she often takes breaks from her social media platforms, and many criticize her for dishing out constantly but not being able to take it back. And at number 3, Billie Eilish. Billie has been going through a pretty rough patch recently, and it seems that every month something bad is getting exposed about her. Recently, a video went viral where Billie was mocking an Asian accent, as well as mouthing the C word, a slur for Asian people. She also has been constantly called out for using a black scent and strongly emulating black culture. This scandal came just days after Billie's last scandal, where she's accused of queer baiting. This accusation happened after Billie posted some behind the scenes footage from her Lost Cause music video. The caption on that was, quote, "I love girls." Many felt she might be insinuating she could be queer to gain attention. However, others felt it was her way of subtly coming out but not putting any labels. To add on to the number of scandals that Billie currently finds herself in, her new boyfriend, 29-year-old Matthew Tyler Vorse, was exposed for tweeting racist and homophobic things in the past, and he recently apologized for that online. And at number 2, the Lopez Brothers. The Lopez Brothers of TikTok have been getting intense backlash after it was exposed that both brothers participated in illegal conduct with. It started with Tony Lopez, when multiple girls came forward and showed text messages and DMs proving that Tony knew of their ages but still had contact with them. As a result of all this, Tony was sued by 2 of the teenagers for his actions, although he has vehemently denied all the claims. Next on to Andreas. Andreas Lopez, the older brother in the Lopez Brothers, also has been accused of having relations with a 14-year-old girl. After the incident, the girl's friend posted a video to TikTok of Andreas having a conversation with the girl's mother, where the mother says that Andreas, quote, could go to jail for what he did. And finally, number 1, Trisha Paytas. Trisha is easily the most controversial person on the entire internet. Trisha's been on the platform for over a decade and has managed to stay relevant because of her crazy antics and affiliations with other huge influencers like Shane Dawson and Ethan Klein. Most recently, the internet was actually starting to love Trisha again, and fans were ecstatic about the Frenemies podcast. However, things quickly went south with the podcast, and after Trish walked off the podcast 3 separate times, Ethan has decided the Frenemies is done. Ethan has now changed the podcast to be Families, starring his parents. And Ethan has exposed the toxic treatment that Trisha put him through. Ethan says that he was constantly walking on eggshells and would do anything possible to avoid offending Trish. But after a while, he just couldn't take the stress anymore.
At number 10, Russell Brand. This man has been slowly exposing himself to the public over the years as his chaotic energy has just gotten worse and worse. Brand has previously gone down in history as being the worst host of the Video Music Awards ever, but now he's going down in history for being an absolutely terrible human being. 4 women have come forward alleging that Brand mistreated them verbally and physically between the years of 2006 and 2014, arguably the height of his career. He strongly denies the allegations, and in a video that he posted himself, the actor claimed that while he was promiscuous, all relationships were consensual. One woman claimed that Russell had started a relationship with her in 2006 while she was still in high school and he was 30. Apparently, they met when Brand bumped into her at the mall. According to the woman, the relationship was meant to be anonymous, with Russell asking her to straight up lie to her parents. He even wrote her a script to keep things smooth. Another woman alleged similar behavior in 2007, but added that he had a massive temper, becoming physical with her a few times. Several more women have spoken about their situations with Brand, all of which were eerily similar and showed that he is a pattern of mistreatment. At number 9, Jonah Hill. Unfortunately, it would appear that the once funny man turned Oscar nominee is really a jerk. Recently, a news article broke of his ex-girlfriend, Sarah Bradley, revealing evidence that Hill was emotionally damaging towards her during their relationship. The couple first got together in 2021, meeting on the beach as she was a surf instructor. According to a series of texts between Sarah and Jonah, it's obvious that he is manipulative. He told Sarah to remove any photos of her in a bathing suit, which was a lot of them due to her being a surf instructor. When she did that, he told her it was a good start, but she didn't seem to get his point. He then told her, "It's not my place to teach you. I've made my boundaries clear. You refuse to let go of some of them, and you've made that clear, and I hope it makes you happy." People felt that his boundaries were closer to ridiculous demands, and in another screenshot, Hill explained his conditions for maintaining their relationship, including stating that he didn't want Sarah surfing with men, aka her job. He wrote a massive list of boundaries and rules that were just clearly him trying to control everything Sarah did. At number 8, Oprah Winfrey. Who would have guessed that the woman once famous for handing out cars on her talk show is being canceled by the world? Why? Well, Oprah made a career-ending mistake when herself and Dwayne Johnson broke the one rule of being a billionaire: don't ask poor people for money. Last week, Winfrey and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid $10 million to get off the ground, $10 million donated by Winfrey and Johnson combined. So why is it just Oprah getting so much hate online? Well, it's because she has a net worth of roughly $2.8 billion, billion with a B. The internet is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their table. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start, except $5 million to Oprah is like $500 to us. Oprah ended up addressing all the hate online, telling the Daily Mail that she was disappointed in the reaction from the world rather than focus on the good things and the people of Maui. The world was mad that she asked them to give a nickel. Oprah has yet to confirm if she will be donating any more to the fund, but so far it's not looking very promising. At number 7, Drew Barrymore. The actress and now talk show host made headlines last week when she announced when her very popular show, The Drew Barrymore Show, would return to air despite there being a massive writer's strike in Hollywood at the moment that a majority of celebs have shown their support towards. The Charlie's Angels star claimed that the move was not intended to make light of the current situation, but rather as a way to create a safe environment to discuss the difficult topics. She posted a video to Instagram apologizing for all the pain the decision had clearly caused people. The writers who worked on her show before the strike were literally standing outside of CBS studios with picket signs. The internet called her a number of different insults and asked that she be fired from the show altogether. Well, apparently Drew heard everyone's cries and decided to keep the show off air for now. While she made the right move in the end, it may be too little too late. At number 6, Danny Masterson. The actor, best known for his role on the sitcom That 70 '70s show has been convicted on serious charges of misconduct. 3 women came forward detailing a time when Masterson aggressively took advantage of them. 3 separate incidents took place between 2001 and 2003, but a verdict was not reached until just this year. The first round of investigations actually took place while he was still on that '70s show, but at the time there wasn't enough physical evidence to take things very far. In 2017, the investigation was reopened and it was reported that he once again being investigated. The women spoke about Masterson's misdeeds and they were eventually able to scrape together enough evidence for a conviction. Another woman came forward in 2017, rounding it up to 4 accusers. It was revealed throughout the proceedings that Netflix had actually tried to dispute the claims of these women as a way to maintain their working relationship with Masterson. Eventually, he was fired from the ranch and, well, everything with his name attached to it. The actor defended himself tooth and nail right up until the final verdict. In the last year, former co-stars like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote character statements supporting Danny and literally claiming that he was a role model. At number 5, Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada was well known for a long time, mostly as Will Smith's wife, but also for her occasional acting roles. These days, she's known as a disgruntled talk show host. For a few years, Pinkett Smith hosted a talk show online called Red Table Talk, where she would invite guests to come on so they could discuss various topics, from upcoming projects to the man she was dating while her and Will were on not so good terms. The show was known for getting a little too deep into Jada's personal life, often making the viewers and her guests very uncomfortable, revealing details that nobody asked for. The company she worked for eventually decided to shut down their streaming and her show would suffer. The show may have also been canceled due in part to her husband smacking Chris Rock in the face. At number 4, Colleen Ballinger. Former YouTuber and current demon, Colleen Ballinger has recently been outed as having inappropriate relationships with her young fans. Luckily, nothing went as far as becoming physical, but her involvement in various group chats with fans half her age was extremely inappropriate. Ballinger is best known for her character Miranda Sings, who became so popular on YouTube that she received her own Netflix series. If you haven't seen that, too late, it's been removed now. She was basically messaging her fans to deliver so-called advice when she was really just trying to manipulate them into being her unpaid employees and sending them to bat for her during any kind of drama. Following the backlash, Colleen decided to post an apology online. The only thing was, she did it while playing a ukulele. In response to the cringiest apology of all time, her former fans decided to cancel her for good by reminding the world of a number of inappropriate bits, sketches, and jokes she probably shouldn't have done and certainly should not have been available to children to watch. At number 3, Katy Perry. Recently, Katy Perry took to social media to announce that she wants to quit being a judge on American Idol after 6 years over a fear that she's being made to look like a bad guy by the producers. For those who don't know, Perry had an interesting reaction to a contestant revealing she was a mother of 3 and being much older than she looked. In response, Perry stood up out of her chair and almost laid on the judge's table. The contestant, Sarah Beth, then sarcastically said that if Katy laid on the table, she would die, and Katy responded with, "Honey, you've been laying on the table too much," in reference to her having multiple kids at a young age. At first, everyone laughed and this all seemed in good fun, but following her audition, Sarah announced she would be going back to California to be with her family, claiming she just wasn't cut out for show business. She later took to TikTok to call Perry out for the joke, which was shaming her in a number of different ways. Katy has been defending herself since the video, claiming it was not meant to be harmful, but she's made similar comments and jokes to many contestants over the years. At number 2, Justin Roiland. The creator of the adult cartoon comedy series Rick and Morty was on a hot streak at the start of 2023. Rick and Morty had been just renewed for another season. His first-person adventure comedy High on Life was becoming one of the most played games across the country, and oh, then he got arrested for being a jerk. Turns out that this man who made the world laugh was also a man who made women cry. It was revealed that he would be facing 2 separate criminal charges in Orange County, stemming from a domestic incident that took place in 2020 with the woman he was dating at the time. While he denied the allegations at first, several other women came forward to share their stories of mistreatment from Justin, who had apparently been sending them horrific DMs online that varied from pretty tame to the creepiest stuff you've ever heard. Roiland was stripped of his contract with Disney and Hulu, who'd been distributing his series on its streaming services and were funding his most recent projects. Roiland was also replaced on both Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty, with the current news being Dan Stevens is taking his place. And at number 1, Donald Trump. In 2006, Donald Trump was known as a wealthy real estate mogul with a hit reality series called The Apprentice. He was recently currently married to Melania with a 4-month-old baby. However, reports leaked that Trump was actually in the midst of an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels after she filed a civil suit claiming the contract he made her sign to keep quiet was invalid. Daniels claimed that herself and Trump shared an intimate relationship for roughly a year during his marriage to Melania. These aren't the first allegations of an affair, as Trump has been back and forth in the media since the 70s, being accused by 26 women of mistreatment or misconduct. While these rumors have never held any merit at first, the truth was finally set free. After being the most chaotic president in recent history, it was announced in March that Trump was arrested on 34 separate violations of a New York law against falsifying business documents to conceal another crime. Over the years, he was essentially taking company money and using it to pay off anyone who may have been a threat to him, both personally and politically.